I agree with you that I thought there was a lot of good execution on Texas's part. But again, it was a pretty evenly fought game to the end. I thought there was a lot that we executed really well also. And again, my hat, they were a really good football team, and we had a heck of a game. And we came out, like I said, there's a few plays there in the fourth quarter. If you make them, you've got a chance to get off the field or change the game, offensively or defense. Stay on the field offensively or defensively get off.
Most of the questions are on offense, as it seems they always are following a loss. Your thoughts, though, on giving up 38 points. If you score 35, you're going to win most of the time.
That's right. No, I agree. And again, it isn't like, as I said, it's not like we were busting things, giving up big plays, weren't in the right places. We were. And there were times, I felt for the most part they had 2 runs through the day that hurt us. One set up a field goal. The last one broke our back, gave them the touchdown. The rest of the day, other than Colt McCoy scrambling, the run game was really pretty solid. And then I thought he made a big difference in if there was something there quick, he got it to him. He's accurate. He is on everybody, not just us. And then when we did cover him, made him hold it, he would pull it down, find a crease, like I said, he'd get 5, 8, he'd get 10, and all of a sudden it's 2nd and 2. And they did a nice job with about 2-3 drives that way that were, 10, 12 play drives.
How frustrated are you when you kick team? It's statistically one of the worst in the nation.
My kick coverage team, obviously, it's terribly inconsistent and aggravating. We've put a ton of time into it, whether it's film time, it's practice time, and we just haven't been able to get it done. We've made some changes again, and hopefully personnel will make the difference. Kicking the ball off, a year ago we led the country in kick coverage. So this year we're near the bottom. So what are we doing differently? Nothing. It's people, and we've got to get the right guys in there that'll recognize it and be where they need to be. And sometimes we've been there where we need to be, and we need to make the play. We've got to tackle the guy and get it finished.
Well, the second half seemed a lot better Saturday.
Well, it's been that case every week. We've had the one bad one, and then we've had a bunch of good ones.
Is that a case of you change anybody at
No.
time of these games, or change schematics, or just give them a do-better talk?
It's just, we're always giving them a do-better talk, but the bottom line is, they've got to make plays. You cannot do it for them. Recognize where they're bringing the ball, where they're wedging it, where they're bringing the ball, and get to it. And like I said, we led the country a year ago, number 1 in the whole country in kick cover, and now we're towards the last. And what's different? You're kicking the ball, and you're covering like everybody does.
Have you decided what option you want to go with to replace Ryan at linebacker? If not, what are the considerations?
Well, all the considerations are moving Travis Lewis in there some and working a few Austin Box and a few other guys on the edge, or keeping Travis Lewis where he is, where he's been playing awfully well, and work Austin Box and a few other guys inside. So we'll work those through the week.
Any other players, names you can bring up that are in that mix?
No, all the J.R. Bryant, Mike Balogun, all those guys, Brandon Crow as well.
Lamont backed up Curtis last year, is that correct?
In some instances, yeah.
Just as the backup middle linebacker.
Yeah, Lamont's been mostly outside, though, so we'll keep him mostly outside.
Since last year?
Yeah.
Bob, one other thing in the kicking game that you didn't mention that's different is Hartley kicked a bunch more touchbacks than what you're getting right now.
That was a big factor a year ago. Garrett had a much better leg and bigger leg. Maybe now people appreciate it a little bit more. But, and you look at where Matt's balls, where they've been landing compared to where everyone else is, he's not a whole lot different. I don't see NFL guys kicking it out of into the end zone much. You guys, you guys watch it probably more than I do. It's in his, his has been somewhere from the 10 to the goal line, but the other day their guy was a few yards more, but not a whole lot.
How many changes did you make on that coverage team?
Oh, about 4 of them.
You don't know who they are?
No.
McCoy
That
and
just pulls out guys that you pulled out. That's there's no need to do all that. Well, then you can talk about it.
Colt McCoy and Greg Davis were talking after the game that they ran an offense they hadn't run in 8 years. They don't like their tight ends, so they weren't part of the game. Your thoughts on the impact of that?
Well, it impacted it. You know, the thing they did all their 3-by-1, you know, routes and run plays and things that we're used to seeing with the tight end. They just did it without the tight end and with the wide receiver in that position. So in the end, to some degree, it mattered, of course, because you got a faster guy in there. The degree it didn't is that there were still plays, routes, combination routes, run plays that we were used to seeing, whether it's the tight end or the wide receiver. Does that make sense? When they're 3-by-1 or 2-by-2, they like certain, you know, they like to work from, you know, depending on your coverage, they're either going to go to the boundary or go to one of the inside receivers, and so that part of the game we were familiar with, but again, they had a different guy in there.
Is it easy to convince your team they can still accomplish goals when you see you come out in number 4 in the Associated Press poll?
Absolutely. You know, these guys pay attention, as everyone does. Heck, this isn't any revelation. I mean, look at last year. Look, every year lately, it's been, you know, it's hard to go undefeated. And heck, the national champion, who'd have ever thought a year ago that they'd ever have 2 losses? I never thought that had happened, and it did. So, you know, you just got to be ready to play each week.
When a certain part of your team is struggling, and you as a head coach, who do you make accountable there, the players or the position coach?
Well, I think if we're putting them in a bad position, then the coaches and myself for not recognizing it and giving them a better opportunity. If they're, you know, if there are factors in things that you've worked the entire week and are prepared for, and you don't play them, then players have to be, you know, hold each other accountable that, look, this is what we were expecting, we need to handle it. So there's always a little of both.
Bob, you hired Coach Mangino when you first got here, and even when he was your offensive coordinator when you won the national championship. You've known him for a long time. What makes him a success? What about him?
A bunch of things. You know, Mark has, more than anything, he has a great work ethic. He has great discipline, and I love just the fire in him, the emotion, the passion to coach, to do well. You know, and then he's a bright guy on top of it all, and I liked he always had a tough mindset in what he expected of his players or how we wanted to play. You know, so Mark got a lot of great qualities that are evident to everybody now.
You enjoy matching wits with him?
I don't match, you know, I don't ever look at it, and I say this every week, matching wits one-on-one with anybody. It's our program against theirs. It's a whole bunch of people. It's players' wits. It's a whole bunch of coaches' wits. It's schemes. It's player execution. You know, so, you know, it's the same every week.
You just like the fact that you're going to beat one of your friends, or one of your friends is going to beat you?
Yeah, it's probably fair to say, but in the same league, you don't have much choice. I'd be more angry if we were in different leagues and having to play each other, but the fact that we're in the same league, we don't have much choice. So.
That year that you won the national, he was your offensive coordinator. He brought a little something. I mean, he changed the offense a little bit that year, didn't he?
Yeah, we had a little, to some degree, we had a little bit more diversity in some of the runs and, you know, in the way we ran the football. And, you know, for the most part, that was probably the biggest difference, some of the added wrinkles running the ball. And a few wrinkles, I'm sure. Each year there's a few different things. I'm sure there are a few different wrinkles throwing it as well.
I think 13% of Kansas roster is from Oklahoma. Is that an indication of Mark's ties down here? Or why do you think he's got so many Okies playing for him and actually contributing?
Probably just as much as anything, proximity in the same league. Again, there's a lot of good players here in the state, and so I don't know that it's just his ties here. I'm sure that has something to do with it, but I'm sure it's, you know, it's also just their, you know, the proximity, not being that far away, and being able to recruit this area.